So, we're doing a waffle style video today. That's a shocker to nobody, right? Got a lot going on right now, and I'm gonna be real with you. I don't I don't know what the summer's gonna look like either. Got multiple projects going on. It's kind of why I made my last video, and you just might see some really low effort content. If it's too low effort, let me know in the comments. I'll just knock it off, but kind of don't. I guess this is live. I'm not doing any edits to this whatsoever. This is just going to me ramble about a topic, my thoughts, and we're just going to see how it goes. So, I wanted to talk about a little bit of stuff going on lately. Mostly because, to be honest, the world seems to have gone on fire since I've been basically unable to get anything but work done. Been gaming a little bit more lately, though. So I got that going for me. Although I think it's been at the cost of some house projects. I'm staring down a whole deck rebuild on the back of my house, which will be multiple weeks of fun. That won't kill my upload schedule at all. So, but no, the world seems to have gone on fire, and I'm not exactly sure how to process it, other than, well, the obvious way. So, the whole Firefox thing happened, as some of you might know. I kind of chose to stay out of it. I've been a Firefox user for a long time. I left Firefox when I went into university around 2013, just because the university's system to do schooling was called Blackboard, for those that know what Blackboard is. Excuse me. And the big kicker with Blackboard is that at that time, it only worked in Google Chrome. It didn't work in Internet Explorer. It didn't work at all in Firefox. It only worked in Google Chrome. Something about the way they coded it, they made it proprietary to Google Chrome. I think this was probably a terrible decision made by some higher up somewhere to use the new hip browser, but that's what they did. So, yeah, Firefox wouldn't even display the page most of the time, and when it did, it was usually garbled. Chrome just worked. This was my first experience with this, and largely I just think it was some shitty programmer somewhere just shittily programmed a site that only worked in Chrome because that was the only browser they used. I could be wrong, I'm not judging, mostly. So, I had to move to Google Chrome, which was fine. I used a lot of Google services at the time, so it's not like this was anything new or anything crazy, but I ended up using Google Chrome for many, many years, and sometime last year, I started making a push back to Firefox. Chrome has been doing some things in the last few years that I just don't like. You gotta keep in mind, I am not a super big pure FOSS guy. If you're somebody like Sobu from the Switch to Linux group, he's a moderator over in their Matrix server, and he's also a part of the fairly regular weekly hangouts, which had not been weekly for a while, but that's a totally another rant for another day. He is a pure FOSS advocate. He only uses free software, as in freedom. He only wants to deal with free software, and that's it. I'm pretty sure he even runs the free firmware and not the non-free firmware. And he's openly said before he refuses to use anything that uses proprietary software. And more power to him. If he can get along in his computing life without any proprietary software, good for you. For the rest of us in the world who want to get work done, no, I'm kidding. Partially. The rest of us in the world who reasonably want to get work done, a pure FOSS system provides too many holdbacks to stop you from reaching your goal. It's too binding in a lot of ways. So a lot of people compromise. They run non-free firmware, they run some proprietary drivers, but they largely stay in the FOSS space. And that's kind of neat. I will use a FOSS solution over a proprietary one, as long as they're somewhat comparable. I'm even willing to make a few sacrifices, as long as the app is pretty dang good. And that's just the thing. Normally, I have no issues with the FOSS apps. There's a few that I think more or less are troublesome, to be honest. And I say troublesome as in they're not very functional, but the apps want to make you think they are. You know, I've had issues with Firefox in the past, but I think overall it's a fairly competent browser. I think it does too many things. But it does do things like PDFs extremely well. I actually started using it at work purely because of how we pull up drawings through SAP and AS400 and other IBM related stuff. Being able to pull up the PDFs through Firefox is actually really handy. I've got easy markdown tools that, while I do have a PDF editor that I do use to do most of my markdowns or markups, if I pull it up in Firefox because I hit a button and pop it out in Firefox, that's easy for me to mark up live, and then I can transfer that to an actual PDF by just hitting download. So it has a lot of neat features. It does largely browse the web pretty well, and overall, I'm realistically happy with how the system works. Mozilla, on the other hand, I'll tell you what. I don't know who runs Mozilla, but they need to hire an outside firm to come in and just put about half of Mozilla behind the woodshed. Because, oh my gosh, like, what are you doing? They have turned themselves in the last decade from a reasonable company just trying to advocate for a safer web, a more private web, to the hellish company they are today, who are basically Satan selling your data. Just as bad as Google, except now they only have 2% market share and are selling your data. Now I get it. In recent events, Mozilla has had issues getting money because they had this humongous deal with Google. And this deal with Google essentially boiled down to Google paid you money, you default to Google search as your search engine, and that was like 80% of their revenue. Why would you ever hinge your company's success on that 80% revenue? Here's a bigger thought. Why were we spending all of that money? Why were we not investing that money in something that would pay out in years future to give us dividends or something like that, so we could, pay ourselves essentially later on, or invest it into technologies that made sense? And they're just not doing that. They're just paying your CEO millions of dollars, who, to be frank, also needs taken out behind the woodshed and fired, because this is stupid. You've absolutely run this company into the ground and are kicking it at this point. Like, what are you doing? And that's sad, because Firefox as a browser is not a bad browser. They continue to develop it. They continue to do good things. It's an open source browser. They could use to do more community contributions. From what I understand, they run it like Google. Pretty much if you're not a Mozilla employee, you're not contributing to it, but hey, we could improve upon that. But they've absolutely ruined the company behind it. And Thunderbird was another one they tried to kill off here a number of years ago. And instead, they ended up spinning it off under its own little roof. From what I understand, could be wrong, do your own research, Thunderbird is fairly community drawn at this point, but I could be wrong. I know it exists, and I use it every day. I don't know all the ins and outs. The tough situation of this is there aren't that many browsers to choose from in the world. Your choices realistically are Chrome or Firefox. WebKit doesn't count because, well, Safari isn't good. Never really has been. And GNOME Web is the only WebKit browser I know of on Linux. And it's not good either, and you're not installing it on Windows. And that's it. Edge, for a short time, was its own proprietary engine, and I think they should have kept going with it because it wasn't a bad engine. Instead, they decided to go full Chromium based because they also found out that competing with Google Chrome is really hard. Not that it didn't stop them from doing monopolistic and anti-consumer practices, but they still do, related to browsers, hoping to do enough damage that even when they are caught and pay fines, they benefit more than the fine. But it's sad. It really is sad, because I don't know of another company to go with. Like I said, I used Google Chrome for a number of years, and I know they're selling my data. I have a lot of things tied into a Google account. I'm slowly trying to divest those accounts. Genuinely. One of the reasons for that is I've come to the conclusions on my own. Google is not your friend. They never have been. They never will. My wife is also pretty tied into the Google ecosystem. We have Android phones. I get it. I'm never going to be able to leave Google. And that's kind of why I wanted to talk about it in this video, is because I'm probably going to end up getting rid of Firefox and going back to Google Chrome. And that'll just be that. Like, I'll be back to the days of yore where I occasionally use Firefox. And that'll be it. I won't be using it for everything, which is what I had kind of gone back to. Currently I split it. I run YouTube and stuff through Chrome, and was running my daily browsing habits, and my default browsers are Firefox. But the only thing Chrome does wrong for me right now is it doesn't block all the ads, because Google's fucking adamant that Manifest v3 is the best thing since sliced bread. It's not. I don't appreciate seeing advertisements, which, by the way, are getting through my Ubiquity router and uBlock Origin. I don't appreciate it. And yeah, some of that's because I don't have my ad blocking set up super restrictive on my Ubiquity router. Which, by the way, I have a Ubiquity router. Another video I meant to make that hasn't happened. This is life right now. I just don't have the time for everything right now. And right now, I don't have the time to deal with Firefox. One of the reasons I also keep Chrome around is for some of you who will probably tell me, oh, just use Brave, or oh, just use Vivaldi. I hear you. Vivaldi, no. They screwed up their browser sync here, and 6 months ago, I lost my Vivaldi account. It got completely wiped out. Like, I lost bookmarks, I lost my extensions, everything. Everything was gone. So, it was one of those things where I don't even know what to say. You know, you fucked up at the most basic job ever, which was managing my bookmarks. And yeah, I've been pointed to a couple of self-hosted solutions, Look, I'm just not that interested in self-hosting literally my entire life. It's enough stress on me to host my own data, which I'm doing my best to back up and archive and put up on other services in a way where I can still access that data. The problem is I'm already doing that. I do need some kind of a cloud provider to back me up. So for now, I'm pretty much going back to Google Chrome. I do have Brave on a few of my devices. Mostly I use it for uploading stuff to my channel. It does a very good job at that. It's a very stable browser. If their account sync worked a little bit better, I think I could be convinced to use it. If there was a way for me to more easily tie my bookmarks to be sunk between Brave and Chrome, I might be a little bit more for it. One of the reasons I maintain Chrome is I have a Chromebook. It's a device I haven't talked about yet on the channel. And I have a Chromebook because I've had a Chromebook for a while. I've had one as far back as 2017, and it's also how I got my wife to try Linux. I introduced her through a Chromebook, and after she had her own Chromebook and got used to not needing to have windows around to do certain things because you're just living in the browser anyway, I said, well, what about Linux? Because I can install Chrome on Linux, and you can do more things than you can on your Chromebook. And when you don't need those more things, you take the Chromebook. To the point now where my wife barely uses her Chromebook. I actually gave her a Chrome tablet, Chrome OS tablet, which is not good, but because it's a desktop browser, she reads a lot of her manga on it because it's a full desktop browser, so you can visit full desktop websites unlike a Samsung tablet or a full Android tablet. You can also just request the desktop side on those. I get it. It's more jank. More jank than she wants to deal with. And she's a Google Chrome user. We use Google Sheets between each other as well to share certain things. And even some of the groups that I'm in socially use Google Sheets. So I'm not getting rid of Google. And I'm okay with this. Like, look, Chrome is not a bad web browser. It's actually quite good. Just like Firefox is actually a very competent web browser. The only complaints I have with Chrome right now is ad blocking has gotten a lot worse. And it didn't need to. If they actually policed the Chrome Web Store and the Chrome extensions, they wouldn't need to. And honestly, secondly, auto playback. One of the few reasons I watch YouTube on Firefox on my TV PC, or on my normal day-to-day machine, is because clicking into a video makes it immediately play on Chrome. They used to have autoplay as a setting, and I used to turn it off because I don't want a video to autoplay. I want to click on the video. This would also mean that video adverts wouldn't play on websites. I'm guessing this is why Google took this setting away, but it's no longer a thing. And because of Manifest v3, they took away the ability for those extensions to continue to be used. So not only can I not set the setting, it's not a flag anymore, but I can't even install an extension to make it a thing. These are the reasons why I started moving away from Chrome, as I started seeing some user-hostile choices being made. Beyond all the data collection and selling and yada yada yada, I get it. That's all terrible too. I largely, again, used Chrome because it fit the purpose at the time. I was never deeply attached to it. But if I have to keep using Google services, it does make sense to have Chrome around for those. And no, I'm not installing Edge. That's just a bad decision. I actually rip Edge out of my systems, thank you. But in terms of Brave, like I said, if account sync was better, I'd be more okay with it. Overall, I'm disappointed in Mozilla. I really hope somebody over there starts banging heads together and figure it out. This whole conversation got spurred on because I actually ended up, and maybe I'll make 2 videos out of this clip, I'm not sure. Maybe I'll just leave it as one. I'll probably leave it as one. Requires effort. Watched a video by DT yesterday, and I don't watch DT a whole lot, mostly just because I'm not a big, heavy FOSS guy. I'll use what works. I do tend to lean towards FOSS, so I'm somewhere in the middle. But free and open source software is not the be-all, end-all. Keep in mind, I used Windows for a long time, and I'm still in the mindset of, if Linux were a worse experience, I'd be on Windows. And I do think you should use the right tool for the right job. That's why I stopped using Payton Live for the most part and started using DaVinci Resolve. It's a better tool for the job. It's got better support. Sure, there's some jank, but it's jank I can live with. I've got it pretty well down pat. But I watched DT's video talking about free and open source software. Free as in freedom, not as in beer. And I left a comment on his video that is probably going to piss off a few people. But it wouldn't piss DT off. At least I don't think it would. What little interaction I've had with DT and different lugs and different group settings that I've been in, I don't think this would make him mad. Hell, we all played 0AD together and probably said some fairly offensive things to each other, but it was all in good fun. He commented on Zero Linux, and I've been a pretty big critical person of distros that shouldn't exist or don't need to exist. And there's one area that DT hit on that I want to double tap as well. And that has to do with not charging for software. You are absolutely, positively able to charge for your free and open source software, because it is free as in freedom, not free as in beer. If you watch his video, he does an excellent job breaking this down, the 4 software freedoms and whatnot. The guy did an amazing job at this. I couldn't even begin to touch it. And I will tell you, as much as I don't like Steve, I don't like Zero Linux, I don't think his distro is worth paying for, just as I don't think Zorin OS is worth paying for. Zorin OS offers more value than Zero Linux does anyway. He's doing nothing wrong in terms of the GPL. He is allowed to charge for the binary that comes out the other end, but his source code is out there, it's available to freely download, and with a few commands, you can compile your own Zero Linux for free, as in beer. So if you really want that, go right ahead. I see zero value in it myself, but the point I made in that comment was, nobody's holding a gun to your head to pay for this software. If you don't want to pay for it, go find something else. Nobody's forcing you to use it. Nobody's forcing you to pay for it. And that's the other fun thing, tying this all back to the beginning. So maybe I will keep this one video. With Firefox, nobody is holding a gun to your head saying you have to use Firefox, you have to use Mozilla. At the same time, nobody's holding a gun to your head saying use a different browser, Mozilla bad. If you want to use Firefox, use Firefox. Mozilla's new terms of service, in my opinion, does nothing at all, to change that the browser is still a competent, free, and open source browser. And it's still not a bad decision to use such browser. just note it is no longer a privacy browser. It's just no longer that. Just as free and open source software projects that decide to inject politics, much like DT's comment, no longer make them free and open source projects. It makes them a political activist project. Once you start shilling politics in your software, you are no longer a FOSS project. You are actually violating the four freedoms. Why do I bring this up? Well, Bread on Penguins left a short snippet in her video about why all browsers suck. And I think you should also go look at that video, because the snippet was Librewolf coming out and calling themselves the wokest browser, and basically saying that if you don't support these things, all of the LGBTQ and whatnot, basically get off our browser and go somewhere else. I'm sorry, that's not how FOSS software works, and you're no longer a FOSS browser. You are a political activist browser. You are no longer a FOSS software project, because you have violated the four freedoms by sitting here and excluding people. And I don't care which side of the road you lie on. Politics are just bad. They just are. They are meant to divide people. I said, go watch DT's video. He does a very excellent job breaking this argument down. And so, what's frustrating me is at a time in my life where I just need software to do software things, I have these projects that are just doing the stupidest things. And they're causing me to have to double think what software I'm using. You know, I stopped using, I had Librewolf installed. Guess what? I don't anymore. Because I will not support a software project that comes out and discriminates against people. And their religion. And their politics. You start injecting politics into your product, I'm no longer interested anymore. I'm here for the software, not your stupid-ass opinion. If I wanted your stupid-ass opinion, I would get off this Linux forum and go to a political forum. I personally really dislike politics. It's a subject I cannot stand, even with somebody I agree with. It really galls me. And, you know, largely it's probably because I dealt with decades of my father, who was always very active in that regard, telling us how we're wrong, and still is to this day, telling us how we're wrong and how we need to argue and listen to his political rants. So, it's, you know, Librewolf, no longer installed in any of my systems. Bazite is another one. Beyond the technical problems that I had in Universal Blue, in my Universal Blue video, I got treated very poorly over the experience. I got yelled at by multiple people, multiple times, including George himself, telling me, when I was having these issues, to go to his server, and it's like, I don't want to add another server to my list, no offense. These are just technical issues, I can just report them to your forum, which is a legit place to do it. And, you know, at the time, I was getting ready to hop onto their server, because I had honestly hit a roadblock with Bazite just not updating, which is the second time I've had this happen. Automatic updates just don't work. And sometimes updates just take forever. And some of it we think is my location in the Midwest. Must just not be near anything hosted on GitHub. Because standard system updates for me on Mint are like 10 or 15 minutes. After several weeks. Okay? The Flatpaks do take a lot longer. But for the most part, 10 or 15 minutes, maybe 20 most, Bazite updates every few days when I would expect them to happen, but even still, in the same update period, in 3 months, my system's never updated. That's a problem. When I did finally update, it was many hours. I had to leave it run overnight. I had updates or rebases that took 7 to 9 hours and was told just to cancel it and try it again. That it's something wrong with my end. Very rude statements even from George. And even now, anytime I am in a forum with him on Discord, he goes out of his way to attack me. And I'm sorry, that's one of the reasons that put me off Universal Blue. And it's your computer, you install what you want. I ain't touching that shit with a 29.5-foot pole. They came out, and he's done his... It's not just George, it's also Universal Blue in general. Went out of their way to cancel one of their most high contributors because he questioned them injecting politics into their distribution. That's all he did. It was a very kind, considerate going, hey, we for some reason have a mascot we never voted on internally, and it's trans, and it's being very left in the way it's being presented, almost hostile to the other side. It's going to cause some issues in the forum, because we have people on both sides. Can we take a step back, think about this for a minute, Maybe not get political, maybe just make good software? Just, and they banned him. And not only that, to be fair, they also banned Lunduke, but that's not impressive. Because Lunduke getting banned is almost a comical party. So, it's hilarious in my opinion, but at the same time, the people running this distribution are the ones canceling people who don't politically agree with them. That's wrong. Again, much like DT's point, you are no longer a free and open source software project when you start injecting politics into your project and you start canceling people. So, again, I don't care on which side of the fence you lie on. I've long thought the two-party system needs thrown in the trash anyway, because both sides suck. At the same time, software is not a place for it. Never has, never will. On this channel, I expect people to leave their politics at the fucking door. When you walk into somebody's house, do you step in the mud, drag that mud into the house, and rub it into people's carpet? No. You come into their house, you go to their mat, and you take your shoes off. And then you walk into their house. Or you dry your shoes off, or you clean them before you come in. Leave it at the door. I don't care which side of the aisle you're on. Some of you can probably guess which side I'm on, and that's okay. American politics suck and are a dumpster fire. It's one of the reasons why I've become so anti-politics in my life. I've been subjected to a lot of extreme views and a lot of very argumentative topics, and this is just not the place for it. I'm here to have fun with software, to explore distributions, find stuff wrong with them, and maybe even report it back, but also just experience the computing realm in a reasonable manner. And you guys are all making it very hard for me. Mozilla trashing their browser, Librewolf dunking on themselves. Throw yourself away. Chrome just ruining the web in general. Google in general just ruining the web in general. AI ruining the web. It's a mess. I don't know what the solution is. Like I said, for now, I think I'm just going to remain how I am. I'm still going to browse the web with Firefox for the time being. I will continue to watch videos via Chrome, other than on my TV. If Firefox goes so over the edge that, it becomes the worst thing ever. Maybe I'll consider a fork. I don't know. Florp didn't seem that bad. I can't use it in mobile, though. So, honestly, just kind of feel defeated at the moment. But that's kind of everything I had to say for today. I might break this up. I might not. It's actually feeling like I'm not. I'm not even going to edit this. It's just going to go up as it is. So I apologize if I'm irritating or this isn't the best quality, but is what it is. Hope you all doing great. I'm not doing too bad. Just going to be stressed for the foreseeable future. And, I'll try to interject some content here and there that will be entertaining. Stuff like this, I'm fine. If you just don't want to deal with it, don't deal with it. If you don't want to hear my rants, guess what? Nobody's forcing you to watch or listen or anything like that. This is just, honestly, these talking head videos, or in this case, talking OBS videos, that are mostly just audio, are really just me shouting at the clouds because I don't know what else to do. And if you too shout at the clouds like an angry old man, I'm in my 20s still, but I feel like I'm 50, It just seems like I'm in my late 20s actually, but I just feel like an old man shouting at clouds anymore. I didn't grow up with this AI nonsense, and it's turned the world on its head. And I'm still trying to make sense of it myself. So, with that, I hope you all have a wonderful day beyond my little 2 cents rant. And I will catch you later on. I know I said I was going to do less content, but it's amazing how life works sometimes. So, I'll catch you guys later. Y'all have a good one.